Hey there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Tonight I'm going to show you a coloring tutorial, and I'm going to show you how I colored the Scarecrow and Tin Man here on this Wizard of Oz card. I just did the background in a video previous to this, so if you're curious as how I did the chevron background, you can check that out in the video right before this one if you go to the Frugal Crafter's channel. But today I'm going to show you how I did a little coloring here because I often get asked how I color my images. So the first thing I want to show you tonight is a gradiated background, and what I have is 3 blue markers, and I've got Copics here, but you can use what you have. You can use Sharpies, Prismacolors, Bic markers, Pro markers, or a combination of all the different kinds to get the range that you need, because they're all alcohol markers and they'll all blend well together. So what I have for Copic colors, if you're curious, is a B05, which is processed blue, B02, which is robin's egg blue, and B00, which is frost blue. And when I color with my markers, I like to start with the darkest color first. And if you go outside, if it's daytime and it's not cloudy, and you look up at the sky, you will notice that the higher you look up, the darker the sky is. So I'm starting with my darkest color here up at the top of my image. And since the top of the Scarecrow's hat goes to the top of the frame there, I can work a portion of the image at a time. Please excuse my furnace. It is kicking on again. True to form, to all my videos, the furnace kicks in. Doesn't matter what time of year it is, the furnace is always going in my New England home. Alright, I've colored about a third of the way down with the darker blue color. Now I'm going to move on to robin's egg blue, which is B02, and I'm going to start by coloring over what I've already colored, and this is going to make it a lot easier to blend. I'll still have a concentration of color at the top, but it's going to soften the edge and it's going to make it much easier to drag that color down. Now another tip, if you end up with a line and you can't seem to get a smooth blend, try the chisel end of your marker. Most of your markers will have a chisel end. Like the Pro markers, for instance, the standard ones have a bullet end and a chisel end. The Copic sketches that most crafters use have a brush end and a chisel end. So this is really handy, this firm end, for breaking up the line. Now the line is just about gone there. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my lightest blue, the frost blue, and I'm going to go over what I just colored with the robin's egg blue, and I'm going to drag it down. You'll notice that your lighter colored markers will feel drier. I think it's due to the fact that there's more solvent than color, and it just gives you a drier feeling marker. Now there we have a really nice gradual blend, and you can do the exact same thing throughout the rest of the picture. I like it when your background's broken up a little bit. It makes it easier to get a blend. I hope you can hear me over the sound of the furnace. I'm telling you, there's no such thing as all quiet on the set around here. And I'm gonna put this in kind of sloppily just because I know that you're, watching me, and it can get kind of boring if I'm taking a long time coloring. So, generally I would take a little bit longer, but I want to get this done in a timely fashion. Again, in with the chisel edge just to make it a little bit easier to blend. Actually went right to my lightest color there. I'm going to go in a little bit with the medium color to blend it out. I also like using my darkest color first because it establishes value, because when you're stamping, of course your ink might be the darkest thing, but you've got the white of your paper, which is your lightest color, and then you've got whatever you put in for your darkest color, and then all of your other colors are going to fall somewhere in that spectrum. So to put your darkest color in first is very helpful. As far as the Tin Man, you're going to use a few shades of gray. Now your gray will either be warm gray or cool gray, and I just did a little swatch here. Now look at the difference between warm gray number 3 or 30% and cool gray number 3 or 30%. The warm gray has yellow undertones, it almost looks tan, whereas the cool gray has more bluer undertones, so it looks a lot cooler, a lot more like metal. So to do the Tin Man, you're going to want to use your cool grays, and I have cool gray number 1 from Copic. I've got cool gray 50% and cool gray 70% from Prismacolor. That would be like a C5 and a C7 if you're using Copics. And I've also got a C3. So I've basically got 10%, 30%, 50%, and 70%. And it really does not matter what brand you're using because they all fall pretty much the same. Again, I'm going to go in with my darkest, which is the cool gray 70%. And I'm just going to throw in some streaks of color, and I'm going to try to do it so you can actually see what I am doing and not just see my hand in the marker. And I'm putting my darkers around the edge, and also, you know, if you get confused, go, you know, take a spoon out of your silverware drawer, look at something metal, and that will really help you in placing your colors. I'm putting in just some dark streaks. Now, I don't really want things too blended on the metal because when you're looking at metal, it's not soft. It looks very hard. You have highlights and you have, you know, shadows, but they're very harsh, and you have reflections. So I'm just going to throw in some streaks of this cool gray 30%. I'm leaving some of the white, trying to make my lines pretty harsh. Then I'll go in with the 50%. I'm using the fine tip end on these Prismacolors. The brush end would probably be really handy if you're using Copics. Find whatever you're comfortable with. So I'm using very choppy strokes here because I don't want it to be blendy. I want this to be really harsh. And then with my Copic, my C1, which is about a gray 10%, I'm just going to kind of fill in all the other areas because I have a little trick that will make it look a lot more metallic in a second. And of course I'm coloring this very quickly. I am not worrying about making this perfect because I want to get it done fairly quickly, but I want you to get the gist of it. Now I'm going to use a white colored pencil, which I sharpened when I made my first card, and I'm going to go in and add highlights. And this will really bring out the metallic look. It'll make it feel a lot harder and more like metal. And I can go back in with my darkest gray that I was using, which is the 70%, and add a few more streaks if I like. Maybe some little streaks under the buttons, under the nose. Any place two metal parts meet, I'll add a little shadow there. And there, we've got a metallic looking guy here. Yeah, that's it's late. You probably can't tell that, but it's kind of late here. I'm filming this, but you know, it's summertime and I gotta do it when I can. Now, as far as the scarecrow, I'm just gonna go in and color it very quickly. Some tan on the face. Now, there's another trick here that I wanted to share with you. I generally don't do coloring videos because I really don't think I have more to add than anybody else, but you know, I do often get asked to do them, so I'm going to share with you what I know. And one of the nice things about these markers, they blend great, but if you give it a chance to dry, you can layer over it and make it darker and add some shadows. And this just makes it so you don't have to have every single color out there. You can go in with one coat, let it dry a bit, go over it again. You can do this several times. And it's like, this is E31. It would be like having E32, E33, all with the same marker. So that will save you a little money. You can skip a few numbers when you're stocking up on your markers. Skip a few shades because you'll be able to, you know, glaze or layer over it and still get the same effect. I'm going to go in with the, just like an olive green. This is pale olive. It's kind of like a pea green. I'm just quickly coloring the scarecrow shirt. I think I missed a few spots in the background, but I can go in and fix that later. Not a big deal. And again, I take more time if I was not shooting a video. And I'm also going to glaze with this green because it's very easy to do and it will give me the effect that I'm looking for. This is a very small panel to color. It's about 2 inches by 2 inches. Go in and add some shadows. Shadows generally fall by creases, any place that would be blocking light, like on the bottom of the arms and anywhere you see bends in the body, underneath the shirt collar that he has there. And I'm going to use this brown and do the hat and the pants. You can just see a little bit of it there. Hopefully my hand's not in the way. Trying to keep it out of the way. It's hard to control a marker when you're holding it way at the back, so you keep your hand out of the way in a video. But, you know, we'll do what we can do. And I can glaze over it, add a little bit more of a shadow. I'm going to go in and fill in those spots I missed here with just my light blue, because it's starting to bug me. Alright, now with a warm gray, a light warm gray, I'm just going to go and do the Scarecrow's gloves. And you can kind of see how different the warm gray is compared to the cool gray. It's just got a little more yellow undertones. And I can go in again and glaze over on the face, give it another little bit of a shadow so it stands out more. Or, if you're really new to markers and you can't justify the expense of buying too many, you can use your colored pencils. You can go right over it. Now, I would warn you not to go, if you're coloring heavy with colored pencils, don't go back in with your markers after, because the alcohol in the markers can dissolve the wax and it might clog up your pen nibs. So if you're going to do that, you may want to just, not go back in with your markers, but you can certainly add a lot of depth and luster to your drawings just by going over it with a little colored pencil. And I'm just doing a little bit here, but I think it adds a lot of impact. I'm going to do the little border here. Just a quick swipe of my, and you know what? If you're going to cut this out closely, I'm going to show you this too, because anytime you think you're going to cut something closely, be messy, color outside of the lines, and then when you cut it out, you won't have any white shadow around everything. Everything will be nice and crisp and ready to go. Alright, so there we go. We have our colored image, which I'm going to cut out pretty closely on that one. Here is the finished card. I simply punched a few hearts, an old punch that I've had for years, and kind of glued them in a corner, kind of bendy corner thing. I don't know what you want to call it, bendy corner thing. And then I just stamped some stitches over it and topped it off with a little glitter nail polish. Very fancy, I know. From the dollar store, of all places. And I just, put it on the chevron panel that we made in our last video, matted some stuff on black, stamped the sentiment, punched out, these are just punched out paper circles that I embossed just to make them stand out a little bit. It's so easy, and anyone can do it, and all you need are a few markers, maybe some colored pencils, but I just thought I'd give you a coloring video because I've had a lot of requests for them lately. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, of course, happy crafting!